G'day, my name is Jared Davis, and in this Gunnar SPT32 tutorial video I'm going to show you how to create popular name mats using the Gunnar font mode for typing in words and letters into the software to cut into matboard. Before I start, let me just talk a little bit about fonts. You can load in your own fonts into your computer system by putting them into your Windows fonts directory. So in your C drive you'll have a Windows directory and in the fonts directory, and it's in this directory where you can download and install all your fonts, which will then be available to you to use. Okay, so let's have a look. The first place to start when we're using font mode is to go to our options, click on font mode, which the keyboard shortcut is Control F. And here you can have a drop-down menu where you can choose a font. Now I don't have any fonts chosen as yet in the drop-down menu, so I click on this ... button, which will open up a directory path for my Windows fonts directory. And it's in here that I can scroll down and choose my fonts. So I might want to choose a fun font here that I'm familiar with. Boink. And I also tend to make the font really large so it gives it more detail to cut out more accurately. Click OK. Now we can choose our font position for our margin. So our left margin, we would like that to be 50 mils, and our top margin we would also like to be 50 mils. And then in this field here we can choose our font height. A little note about font height: I wouldn't recommend cutting anything less than 60 millimeters, which is just over 2 inches, given that the software may not be able to provide enough information for the blade to track around accurately, and it may cause the blades to break. So here we can change this to 60. If you do want to cut a font that's less than 60 mils high, I would recommend that you import the font from CorelDRAW. There is another video guide and instructions for that. Okay, here in our text I'm going to type in what I want to type, which might be a name, Stacy. And once you've got all that typed in, you can hit tick to have a look at it, and then X to exit. So now we've got our font placed in the window here. What we want to do is also crop our matboard down to size so that it has an even margin all the way down around it. So I'm going to use catch mode. I'll turn that on to tell me the coordinate. Catch mode works like a little magnetic blue X, and when the blue X is attracted to there, I can see down in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, can you see it says 334 by 109.5? So what you can do is you can mentally add 50 millimeters to each of those dimensions. So you can say that's going to be 384 or 385 by 160. So now I'm going to turn off catch mode, move my mouse over to sizes, and adjust the size of the mat to 385 tab 160, and then to be sure that it's centered, if I want, I can go to my arrange tools and I can choose this button to center it overall in the matboard. And so that's a starting point for cutting fonts and words into mats. Keep in mind sometimes letters may be too close to each other and you may need to space them out and make some minor adjustments. And that's all part of it. So always test cut fonts before you cut them into real matboard. That's what scrap matboards are for test cutting fonts. And I generally find fonts do cut better from the back of the matboard. So if you're cutting fonts, cut them from the back. Use a new blade, and don't try to push it down to anything less than 50 or 60 mils, depending on the font. If you do want to do something tighter and smaller than that, as I suggested earlier, you'll have to investigate the options for doing that and importing it from CorelDRAW. One last step, I'm going to select all the openings and put an outside cut around them, and so now we're ready to cut that out. So now you know how to make name mats using SPT32 font mode.